Elephant is going to do Sorrow Bash. He is going to use Bashes.
A minute away from his PB, everything goes. Wow! Oh my god!
Is that faster?
Is that faster? Big jerk sometimes. He doesn't want to play nice. Oh my good lord!
What a save!
Oh!
He makes it. Wow.
Oh my god! Nice.
Welcome again, everyone, to the Ori in the Blind Forest All Skills Tournament. We have got another matchup for you tonight coming from the round of 16. It is the number 2 seed Willson versus the number 15 seed CheeseLover. My name is Willson. I am here once again with OG 1764. OG, what do you expect to see tonight from these two runners?
Well, I'm expecting a really close race. You know, both of these players have really good PBs. Willson with the 28 and Cheese obviously with the 30.08. Both of them on KBM this time around. Notable difference, Willson doing C Juggle, Cheese doing Terror Break. Other than that, I think that it's going to be a really good race. What do you think, Vula?
Yeah, one thing that you can see here is there is a decent amount of difference between them. You called out those PB differences, as well as the qualifier average difference, with Willson having a sub 29 average time in qualifiers, Cheese only 31:30. But, you know, that's one of those things where since then, Willson's consistency maybe has gone down a little bit. His confidence level is a little bit different, and he's a little bit spooked by Cheese. Cheese is, you know, definitely a pretty scary player in some of these race situations, OG. So it is a little bit scary, even if you have that 1.5 minute PB advantage. You might do something bad and give your opponent a chance to kind of make something out of it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, a lot of that time, if you're going into Misty, you take a death, you're back up to the Sunstone or into the Charge Jump Tree, and suddenly whatever lead you have has just gone. Hopefully we don't see any of that. Hopefully we get good runs from both of these. And if they do have a poor run, because the round of 16 is best of 3, they will have at least one other run to try and make up for that mistake.
That's correct. And we will be seeing all potentially 3 races tonight on this broadcast. So we will either see one of the 2 runners go 2-0 and move on, or we will see game 3 tonight. As you did see there, just as we transition away, because we're about to get started, the winner of this match between these 2 runners will go on to face the number 7 seed Terra. So that's what you can look forward to. But for now, sit back, relax. We have got game 1 starting right now.
Exactly. Cheese with the early lead here, getting that cutscene skip just a fraction of a second earlier than Willson. Of course, that doesn't really matter at all. If he's got a signed split, then maybe he'll gold it. But they're just heading. I don't know. They're heading down to this to the first energy zone through past the charger and into sign. Early game is really, well, this early game is really, you know. What do you like to talk about during the early game coming up to sign, Vula?
Well, OG, I like to put on my super serious commentary voice and make sure to talk about something completely inconsequential. For example, there's the possibility of one or both runners doing a color code here somewhere along the way. They could press the key combination left, up, right, down, up, 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 jump. And if they were to do that, OG, they would get a random color. And you see on Willson's side, he has chosen to do that, pulling a pretty nice pink color. So that could potentially afford him some, you know, just mental advantage. Like he might just feel better about playing with the pink color. Cheese maybe with the standard Ori white. That, you know, that might be a bit of a handicap here as we get into the actual gameplay that matters.
I mean, pink is definitely a nice soothing color, especially when it flashes red when you unfortunately miss a 2-frame jump. They're just heading up now to this first keystone. both of them getting their XP drops, and I didn't actually see, did either of them get a health drop, or are they both still waiting to collect those animations?
It looks like they both
Yeah.
just did get their health drops on that same bramble wall. So I see Willson looked like he was at 3 HP. Cheese, I think I saw 3 as well, and that might have been another HP drop there too, so he had to dodge that. And so they're both having a little bit of a annoyance here. It's not a huge deal. None of this makes a big difference time-wise, but it sure, kind of makes you have to deal with little things in the early game that you might not want to be dealing with.
Yeah, so we're coming up to the first difference. Cheese going for this 4th health cell, while Willson is just continuing along to wall jump. That offers a little bit of extra safety for Cheese, but I don't think that it's going to really be too consequential for Willson that he's not getting that health cell, as he's a very experienced runner. I think he said that he's got over 8,000 all skills resets. So I'm pretty sure that he's going to be okay with only taking 3 health.
Well, so far he is. He does take a little bit of a safety strat there. Might be a little spooked. He did kind of have a very close moment earlier on as well. And he does not want to make any of those kind of big mistakes that cost you a lot of time and really kind of erase that PB advantage he has. If you think about it, like you say that Willson has a 28-20, whatever it was. I remember numbers, yeah. And Cheese says it's 30:08. And, that difference of a minute 40 or so, effectively, you can consider it like the set advantage that Willson has at the start. If they both play to their PB level, then Willson just has a minute 40 of advantage. So if he makes a minute 40 worth of mistakes, like, yes, you can say his gameplay level is better, so he has the opportunity to make that up, but that does erase that entire, like, numerical advantage. So you got to be careful with that. As you're playing some of these sections like wall jump where deaths can send you really, really far back. But fortunately for Willson, he's not done that. Cheese, of course, for his part, is right behind and looks basically to be still that 8-second difference behind.
Yeah, Cheese got messed about with the micro ledge that's right before the bramble wall coming up to Trojan Log, so he unfortunately face planted into that and had to take, or had to grab rather, that energy drop, not words please, the health drop to make up for some of that lost health. He is on 4, but taking 2 damage from those brambles, and then 1 through the slime elbow means that you're at a very high risk of getting sent all the way back to the wall jump tree, as Cheese is now heading in to Black Root Burrows right behind Willson.
Yeah, and Willson, you're going to see performing the slime genocide route here. He was on pretty low XP to level up, so he kind of crouched there and leveled up off the first slime and just waited for the second slime's XP to catch him. Cheese, on his part, he is not doing genocide. He will be doing the normal reload strats in Black Root Burrows. You do see kind of a surprising, like, conservative strat almost from Cheese on the right, where he kind of jumped off that far wall on his way down through that little snaking sections of Black Root Burrows. You usually see the top runners skipping that wall and just turning back around the edge of the platform, but she's doing that little, maybe a little bit of a safety strat. Maybe that's just his normal strat. Sometimes it's hard to tell, but Willson does make the platform cycle, and Cheese will be heading on through and then taking a reload to make his.
Yeah, we're just going to... Ooh, very close. He was very close to dying to some of those lasers, but obviously very practiced and is able to just skim through while the visual is still there and the hitbox isn't. Willson getting some good RNG on that XP grab from that slime on his left, and Cheese is just coming up, deciding not to kill this slime, so he must be pretty close to his level.
Yeah, gotta make sure that you don't accidentally collect too much XP here. So Cheese knows, I believe his XP to level when he entered Black Root Burrows was 30, and each of the slimes drops 12. He cannot afford to level up here, so he does have to make sure that he's within 19 XP of leveling, but not actually tripping over that level. So he doesn't is totally fine. Willson coming to do his cutscene skip, and you see he's 27 away. Again, I just said he needs to be within 19, but he's going to kill a slime on the way out of Blackroot Burrows. And Cheese, ooh, ouch.
Cheese has unfortunately missed the jump and dropped all the way back down. That loses a significant amount of time, and then unfortunately the orb dropped onto the platform as it was rising up, meaning that he wasn't able to collect it and losing him even more time just to rub salt into the wound.
Yeah, that actually adds up to be a very significant time loss here. So Cheese is still going to be waiting to perform his cutscene skip and then get his dash skill probably around the 740 mark or more. So that is very rough, as Willson is already able to get to work on his Frankie walk. Cheese, of course, already at a deficit as far as, you know, their PB and skill levels, but we'll probably be hoping for something like maybe a Willson death here on Frankie walk to help him out. Willson does kind of have a moment where the Frankie doesn't aggro back after the spikes, but he left enough HP to be able to shoot him and catch him. Willson did say he was going to be taking some things a little bit more safely, so we may see more of that type of thing as we're going along here.
Well, I've seen Willson do a lot of death glide through here, so there is the potential for him to get sent back to the dash tree. But he looks like maybe he's peeked across at the restream and seen the misfortune that had befallen Cheese and decided that he was instead just going to go the much safer way and just kill some brambles and wall jump right up there to the energy cell.
Yeah, when you're 54 seconds ahead, according to our truck, at the dash tree, where's Willson? Discretion is definitely the better part of Valor. Willson pulling off the Grotto cycle, so not losing the 8 seconds that would have cost him. Cheese is going to come through the Death Gauntlet here in just a moment, as Wilson's already nearing double jump tree. So definitely going to, you know, Cheese is definitely going to need some mistakes on Wilson's part, but so far they're not forthcoming.
Yeah, Cheese getting that death glide that I spoke about earlier. Willson is going to be doing some blind movement here after the double jump tree, after leveling regroup. We'll see how far up the wall he's able to get as Cheese is making the long fall down into Gumo's hideout.
And Cheese was expressing a kind of a lack of confidence in some of these tricks. He said that he might get Grotto Cycle, and unfortunately he did not, so that is an 8-second loss for him, and therefore an 8-second gain for Willson. He was also a little bit concerned about Door Warp. We'll talk about that later, as well as the final grenade jump. But there is at least one trick that he's very confident on, Kuro Cutscene skill, which we'll see later on. But I don't know, the little things kind of holding him up right now. You know, just that weird platform miss in Blackroot Burrows, and then the orb landing on the other platform. Those are the kind of things that you often see from a player who's lacking a little bit of confidence right now.
Yeah, exactly. They're things that happen essentially every run, and just trying, you know, even if he's peeked over and he's gone, oh, I'm a little bit behind Willson, and has tried to just go that little bit earlier to try and get just frames at a time, and has unfortunately jumped too early, as now we see him unfortunately missing a dash glide as well. He's heading up to Grotto Skip. Willson actually got this really cleanly, pretty much exactly the same way as Cheese did, so that's really good to see that Cheese is, you know, not losing more time.
Yeah, this is a difficult split. I was going to say it's a difficult split to settle down on, but actually it's just a difficult split. Going from double jump tree to the entrance of the Ginso tree is really challenging. There's a lot of very precise movement. Willson, because he's doing crazy juggle, he's going to be saving another 7 seconds over CheeseLover here, as you see that he has skipped an ability cell that normally CheeseLover will have to go get, and he is also able to come in here with this very precise fast cycle in order to get to the Swamp Teleporter. So great movement by Willson on this segment. Cheese definitely seems to be having most of the macro movement going well, but then there's these little things like that flubbed dash glide right there that are giving him problems, and you know, you got to wonder if there's going to be a good opportunity for him to really find his groove again, basically.
Yeah, I think it's going to take one good split or like one good portion of a split to sort of have him calm down and go, oh no, okay, I'm performing fine. It was unfortunate what happened at Blackroot, but really I'm running decently well. And until then, I think it might just take him a little while to settle and just to relax and not have as many sort of silly errors, I guess you could say.
On Wilson's side, we are seeing what it can look like when you are feeling relaxed and composed. His execution right now is just ridiculous. He pulled out telehops going through that second room of Ginso, which like are not even that much faster than the fastest other strat, but they are just a little bit. And if you are able to do them with excellent execution, which Willson just did, he actually was only 8 seconds behind his PB entering Ginso. So he is definitely clicking on some very good pace here. He is working on his mini boss right now with not having quick flame because he did genocide. He will be able to get at best a 4 cycle, but this looks like a 5, which is, again, not a huge deal. I would be surprised to see Cheese pull out a 4 cycle either, since it's incredibly difficult, but you never know.
Yeah, Cheese demonstrating the other way to go through that gamer room, significantly less, swaggy than the telehops, but as you were saying, it's pretty much just as fast. Like, it's slightly slower, but it's also significantly easier. As Willson now, unfortunately, doesn't increase his swag points. First he had the color code, then the telehops. He unfortunately misses the hyperspeed, heading in to the bash tree. There's another color code. We're gonna have to figure out some points for that. Cheese now is going through his mini boss, and it looks like he's gonna have a pretty decent cycle here.
Yeah, actually, that. Oh wow! Okay, he was 1 shot away from a 4 cycle. Holy crud! That is very impressive. So I did say earlier, like, oh, I'd be surprised if he got it. I mean, Cheese is a very good runner. That was not a slight on Cheese. That was just a pointing out how ridiculous it is to be able to get a 4 cycle. There's Cheese being 1 shot off. Very impressive execution by him. We do have Willson working on his key dupe. Looked like his depth setup was very good. Quick got his keystones duplicated and is continuing up to throw the remaining ones into the door and hyperspeed on into the mini boss. Cheese picking up the bash tree. So it looks like it's still around a minute worth of deficit, which is, palatable as much as you can call it that, but certainly not really in the realm of comfort for Cheese at this moment.
Yeah, especially going back to what you said earlier about the difference in their PBs. There's already a minute 40 between their PBs, and now to have an additional minute to a minute and a half get opened up, it's really going to be quite difficult for Cheese, I'd say, at this point. Willson coming up to this rekindle skip. I believe he goes for the blind movement, so we'll see how he does, how close he gets to the frog when he exits, and he unfortunately takes him down. Whoa!
Ouch.
Yeah. I mean, the upside is he's got a lot of time to play with on Cheese. Although Cheese is now probably catching up more than I would have expected. He's already at the second mini boss in Ginso, as Willson is just getting Swamp Entry.
Well, this time difference can be very misleading too. It seems like these sections are very close to one another, but because of the teleport in the way and the other interceding movement, it is still approximately pretty much the same. Probably a little more like 50 seconds here instead of a full minute. Willson had been telling us that he was gonna possibly drop some double bashes here and there, and when I say drop, I mean like intentionally not do, because of how much time you can potentially lose if you drop one, in the sense of the input not working. And right there, he did almost just plunge all the way down into the spikes at the bottom of Swamp there. He did manage to escape. That is, wow, he should have died there, but that's all right. We'll pretend that's normal.
That's a very shallow bash angle. Cheese also going for the double bash method of Swamp entry. It looks like he's not going to drop either of his double bashes, and hopefully he doesn't do what Willson does, and hopefully he's able to get a successful double bash chain all the way up to head into the stomp tree.
We'll see. He might even actually go for the single bash method. Yeah, he's just going to bash up here, and he's going to take a damage. Nope, just kidding.
Right.
Not going to take the damage used. Oh, he'll take that damage. Sure. Willson on the left, meanwhile, skipped a Kuro cutscene. Cheese hopes that you will not see that cutscene in this race. He told us that he's very confident about that trick, so if he is, he will avoid widening this deficit by another 17 seconds, but we'll see. Willson throwing down a save, OG, and maybe we'll won't see a cutscene skip here.
Yeah, he was practicing that. He, on the runs that I saw, was getting it pretty consistently. As probably one of the better failed double bashes. You know, obviously the safest one would be just to throw Ori up. Second best is throwing Ori into the spikes just on the right over.
Oh, jeez, OG! Oh, sorry to interrupt. A rough time for CheeseLover with Ringo on the right side as he's trying to get it to not die, but didn't quite make it. Is able to get it on the second try, so he'll get his ability cell and move on to that skip.
Yeah, Ringo is definitely everybody's favorite frog in the run. Especially, there we go. Cheese, as he said, he just doesn't miss Kuro cutscene skip. Now he's going over to get this energy cell, and I'm pretty sure that he's not going to go for that sort of TAS movement to do the cutscene skip.
Yeah, nice clean damage boost up that wall instead to get up there quickly, and will actually save a little time compared to Willson thanks to actually skipping that cutscene there using a rekindle. Willson, for his part, deep into Valley already, will be ascending this big shaft here with these birds, collecting his cell right here by stomping on a bird in midair. Nice little trick that we don't even get to talk about too much since it's in the middle of all this other stuff happening. But stomping on that bird in midair does cause it to break the wall. And we'll be coming into fast stompless here, and we'll see how he likes the shot. He liked the very first shot. Oh, he's not going to get this cell. That's unfortunate. Yeah, the stomps of frustration.
Yeah, sad soulless, coming out of Willson here. He's probably going to take the cell down to the bottom right of where he is currently through the slimes after getting fella. So this is another little bit of time that Cheese can make up. But I think that Willson has to make a much larger error for Cheese to really come back into this race.
Yeah, this late stage of the run is really where that difference will come into play as far as their level of skill, their PB levels. So we'll see how that works out. Now, Willson able to learn Charge Dash, having picked up that ability cell, I believe is like a 15-second time cost. It's not the most awful thing in the world, but it's certainly not great. And you do see Cheese now coming in for his fast stompless, trying to not die. As Wilson's working on Sorrow Bash, Cheese working on fast stompless. They're both doing these sketchy tricks with a lot of difficult movement. Willson succeeds his. Cheese also gets his cell and does not get the shot. Wow.
How much time does it lose to redo a shot? Is this going to... Okay, he killed the spider. I was going to ask if it's, if he would still end up on top, but this is a really unfortunate series of events for Cheese as he's just waiting for that spider to respawn. A cool animation that we don't normally see.
Oh my gosh. On Wilson's side, meanwhile, he pulled off a flawless crazy juggle very quickly with no problems on his part. And Cheese managed to...
No!
Oh, that is the most. Wow. That's one of the most crushing deaths I've ever seen. After all that recovery effort, he got the shot, as far as I could tell, and then at the very end took the death to go all the way back to the spirit.
That is going to be mentally crushing for Cheese. It'll. I think that the next race to sort of look ahead is going to be interesting to see the mental fortitude of Cheese. If he can reset and go, alright, this is a new run. All of the rubbish that happened last run, that happened last run, that has no bearing on my next run. As Willson takes an unfortunate death, but I don't think that that's going to really impact the race that much at this stage.
Yeah, I think if you're CheeseLover at this point, you know, you've oh gosh, as he's having another little bit of trouble with this spider, and he's actually trying to make sure that shot does not hit the rocks. He's trying to make sure he goes back and gets a second try so that he can actually get to the cell this time. That one hit the ceiling as well. So, but yeah, I think if you're CheeseLover, you kind of just check out of this run. You just say, you know what, let's just treat this as a little bit of practice / you know, kind of cool down, and then get ready for the next race, and when that comes around, let's, you know, put on a better performance. Not to disrespect Cheese at all, like, races like this happen to everyone, but as just the reality of playing this game, or as Willson taking some extra damage there, Cheese will probably just view this as an opportunity to maybe settle down a bit.
Yeah, I mean, at this point of a run, you've had a couple of failed fast stompless attempts, plus everything that happened before it, and then you get sent back to Spirit Tree cutscene. You're definitely going to just check out, go, this run, I don't even care about it anymore. So we'll see if he's able to, you know, get everything else cleanly to sort of calm him down, or if he's going to have to sort of wait until the break between runs to sort of calm down. As Willson, he's on 1 health in Misty. Always a fun time.
Oh yeah, no, that's what you want. Yeah,
oh, very fun. Yeah.
That's not what you want. Yeah, 1 health is terrifying. I mean, 3 health is terrifying because of all the spikes dealing 3 damage, but 1 is even more terrifying. In that case, actually, the 1 didn't really make a difference anyway. But Willson, you know, has been playing solidly. This is the kind of run that I think he won't be happy with, even though he's going to win by a very significant margin. But he will be, you know, kind of looking at it and saying, like, there are a lot of things that I did not do to the level I expect of myself, because that's the type of guy he is. So I think what you're going to expect out of Willson is he's going to, even though he's going to win this race by a lot, he's still going to come out of this motivated to play even better in the next one. And that's just going to make it all the harder for Cheese, as Cheese does make it through Sorrow Bash and heads on into Sorrow now.
Yeah, Willson getting a very clean bang zoom. Cheese making his way into the noob spikes and eventually picking up that 100 XP. Now carrying the save anywhere through to do the terror break in a moment as he just reaches the charge jump tree.
Quick messed up charge dash there for Willson, but didn't cause him to go descending into the bottom of Valley, so he is heading on back to Blackroot Burrows for his revisit and collect his last skill. Cheese carrying his save anywhere for Terror Break. This is, taking the death on the spikes there on the way out of Charge Jump. This is the alternative to the Crazy Juggle, which Willson did. Actually, both strats the same amount of time inside Sorrow. The entire difference in these 2 routes comes from having to pick up the ability cell earlier on if you're doing the Terror Break route. So Willson getting through these 2 lasers safely, and he's going to jump on up, make use of this burn, a quick double bash there, and skip a cutscene and not have to learn about Naru's father and his questionable past.
Yeah, as Cheese is doing a similar thing, except instead of learning about Naru's father, it's learning about how Gumo is a necromancer. So Willson now going to grenade jump his way out of lower black root, dash gliding over the slow zone, and hopefully he'll be able to make this quick laser cycle of this rocket jump as he unfortunately injures Ori's skull. CheeseLover heading down into Misty as he just exits the Sorrow Pass, filled with sorrow likely. Willson just on the last stretch of his run.
Yeah, I think we're all filled with sorrow on behalf of Cheese. I don't really love seeing a run go like this for any runner, and so as a result, you know, Cheese is just gonna soldier along. Wilson's already on his way to Haru. I'm sure Cheese is just kind of like, can I be done with this maybe? But you know, you gotta wait for your opponent to finish, as otherwise the race is not actually over. And even then, you know, Cheese might just decide, let me just finish this up anyway for, you know, a couple extra minutes of, you can kind of treat that as relaxation time kind of, and just play and just don't worry too much about how well you play, but just use that time to unwind maybe.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe give him a few door warp attempts as well. I mean, considering the last race that CheeseLover had, if the number of door warp attempts is anything similar, maybe he still has a chance in this race. But Willson looks like he's going to get it first try. Willson actually going to go for warmth skip here, I think. Yeah. So that's saving an additional 10 seconds over doing it normally as he goes through with some line movement.
Yeah, as long as he doesn't die here, which he doesn't, so well executed. He does, of course, still have the swim left. He did come in with okay. That's okay. He doesn't need any more energy, but he can't grenade jump, so that's a little bit of a shame, but obviously at this stage of the race, it won't make a difference. Grenade jump saves 38 seconds, and this deficit is, as you might be able to guess, a little more than 38 seconds.
Yeah.
So he does wrap up here, and that will be GG for Willson. He's going to get about a 30-20.
Yeah, she's having some issues through Misty. He unfortunately died just there, and just earlier coming into the third keystone, he fell down into the spikes. Again, had the presence of mind to charge jump back out, as he's now going to attempt a variation of Bang Zoom, a somewhat quick kill, I guess
He did
you
something.
could call it.
They died.
The mini boss is dead. That's the important thing. As it looks like he's going to maybe call this race as soon as Willson finishes, as he's not sort of rushing to exit out of Misty immediately.
We'll see. We certainly shouldn't speculate on behalf of either runner. We should let them do whatever it is they think is the correct thing to do at any moment. Willson will be crossing this finish line in just a moment here. Of course, time keeps running until you actually lose control of Naru here, which Willson does. He finishes game one with a 30-18, and he will go up 1-0 in the series. Cheese, for his part, is teleporting back to Glades. All he's got left is Grenade and Mount Horu. So again, you know, like, it's going to be a pretty significant time difference here, but it's not as bad as the numerical amount indicates. Like, Cheese didn't play this race terribly. It's just that the things that happened to him were incredibly costly, and it added up just too quickly for him to really maybe to feel like he was kind of in this race from the start. So what you're going to really be hoping, I think, OG, is to maybe see at the start of next race, Cheese just have a nice, solid start where he doesn't make any, like, I don't know, falling off any platforms in Blackroot Burrows, for example, so that he's able to kind of get into it mentally, right?
Yeah, I mean, in my experience, once you're out of Blackroot and you're into double jump, that's sort of when the run starts mentally. Sort of up until then, it's sort of, oh yeah, I can just reset, which is obviously different in a race. But hopefully, if he is able to get through there, have a clean Black Root, have a clean Frankie walk, then, you know, he's going to be, as you said, mentally in the race and not sort of have all these doubts in his mind about how much time he's already lost.
Alright, we're hitting up the teleporter to head on back to Horror Fields and the final dungeon of the game, Mount Horror, which we will, of course, skip nearly the entirety of. I do want to add that CheeseLover has been hanging out in the speed gaming chat and, you know, kind of quipping a little bit about how this run has been going. And he did tell us, like, you know, he's clearly being a good sport about it. He did tell us before the race that he had, literally, he said these words, 0 expectations of winning. Cheese, of course, knows how good of a runner Willson is, and he knows how good of a runner he is, too. But, you know, when your opponent has a minute 40 better PB than you, and they're, like, 40 seconds off the world record, you know, sometimes maybe you feel like you're a little outmatched.
Yeah, and the run from Willson also was only 10 seconds from Cheese's PB, as in Cheese now going to have some dual warp, or hopefully a dual warp attempt, as he gets that first try every time. Got to go through final escape, and hopefully we'll be able to skip a lot of that final cutscene with the grenade jump.
Yeah, as far as I know, I've never seen Cheese take more than one attempt at a door warp, as far as I know.
Yeah.
Today.
Yeah, agree.
So we're going to get through the final escape here, throwing in some good old stomp cancels. One of my favorite bits of tech in this game, throwing a charge dash, canceling it with a stomp to get your energy back, and then jumping out of that stomp so you can charge dash again. And she's making good use of that to just go fast through here. A little bit of it kind of doesn't matter in the sense that you got to get to this water with these fish. You want to get to this water and then stomp into the water so that you get sufficient distance, because you take 1 damage in there per second. She's unfortunately just whiffing the stomp, but that's alright. I mean, you can hardly, like, you can't lose the race any more than you already are, so it's not really that big a deal.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing is that now we get to see all of the parts of the final escape that Willson skipped over while he was doing his fancy warmth skip tech. As that's a very, very late stomp from Cheese, but he manages to get through the swim largely unscathed.
We're gonna line up a grenade jump here, take aim, and... oh, misfire. Take another attempt here. Plenty of energy to spare, so Cheese shouldn't have too much trouble. He did say this was one of the tricks he was working on. He had been hoping to get it first try. So far, no luck on 2, but the 3rd try is a charm, and Cheese will be able to wrap up. The 3rd try, yeah?
First try. I saw first try. But GG to both our runners. Cheese now just going to be holding right, waiting for Naru to walk behind this tree as we get to see, you know, probably the 2nd time that we get to control Naru casually in the game.
She's throwing in some lovely Naru hops for us as well, for the fans, as he wraps up with a 35,
no, he doesn't.
39, 40, 40, 40.
There we go. Got him.
So GG to Cheese. I'm glad to see him wrap this up and kind of have a good attitude about it, and hopefully that bodes well for him in the next race, OG. What did you think about that race from both runners' perspective?
Well, I feel like both runners, there's a lot to be desired in the next race. Willson being just shy of 2 minutes from his PB will be hoping on a cleaner run, and Cheese will definitely be hoping on a significantly cleaner run. He's just said in the SRL chat that he's come from the lower bracket, so he's going to completely mentally reset for this next match in our best of 3.
Nice. Well, I hope that's going to pay off. You, the viewers, will get to see that. In just a few minutes, we're going to go to a quick break and give our runners a little bit of an opportunity to cool down real quick. And then we will be back with Game 2. OG and I will still be here for you, so stick around. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for sticking around. We are back here with our round of 16 match tonight. Number 2 seed Willson versus the number 15 seed CheeseLover. We've got game 2 coming up. We just witnessed in game 1 Willson taking a convincing victory. And now we're going to see game 2 whether Cheese, as he's treating this as kind of a lower bracket win-back match, whether he can reset the bracket and get that game 3, or whether Willson is going to ride away with a 2-0 victory. I'm still Vulcan. I am here with OG still. OG, we saw some interesting interesting things in the last game. What kind of play do you think we're going to see from both runners in game 2?
I'm hoping that we see similar but different, where we keep all the good things and then we get more good things. So I'm hoping that we have really clean runs up until double jump. We continue not to see certain cutscenes like Pro cutscene. We get some good bash angles. We get some good skips. We're able to get feather in at a very quick pace, and I'm hoping that this is a much closer race.
Well, it definitely has the potential to be. We'll be getting started very shortly here. Cheese has been going for the kind of unwind strats, maybe consume some beverages of a certain type, maybe relax a little bit. Willson, for his part, is basically going to be approaching this game exactly the same. And I mean, Cheese already knows what strats he wants to be doing. The real question is just, whether any of those execution errors are going to creep in, as game 2 is getting underway. Both runners getting pretty even cutscene skips this time, and Willson getting a lovely brighter pink color this time around.
Yeah, the pink served him really well last race, so hopefully with the brighter pink he doesn't blend in too much with the purple background that is Glades. I still don't know what to say coming up to Sign 2. I don't know.
Well, OG, this is once again about the time where we put on our serious commentary voices and we talk about how 2-beer strats are really the thing that enables Terra's success in the tournament, why he's been able to make it to the round of 8 so far. And recall that Terra is the opponent for whoever happens to win this match. So, Cheese trying to, enact the 2-beer strats. He might be prepping for that match that he hopes to have with Terrace if he's able to take this back and run it back against Willson. But Willson, for his part, maybe with his Viking powers, he doesn't actually need the 2-beer strats. I'm not sure how it's going to work out.
I mean, they were soul beers, and as we know, up in the northern parts of the world where Willson inhabits, it does get quite dark, so maybe he's not used to the power of soul, and CheeseLover will be able to sort of up the pace and bring out the victory this time.
Well, so far these starting segments for both runners have been pretty standard. Cheese did get a health drop there, so it holds him up for about, I think it's 40 frames or something. Willson gets through with 2 health, Cheese with 2 as well, and their XP drops have been pretty okay, so they'll both be able to take 1 HP Ghost Tours this time around and head on into the next section, where again we will be seeing that 8-second time difference, as Cheese will be taking the HP cell here and Willson will not.
Yeah, it's good to see that Cheese isn't sort of trying to put everything on the line and going, oh, I just need to do everything that I can to try and get every potential second that I can make up, and going with things that he's not comfortable with. So, I mean, he did mention that he's going to treat every race exactly like it's a PB attempt minus the resets. As I mentioned last race, Willson, 8,000. I don't know how you have 8,000 resets in Ori, that's a lot. But they're both heading in to War Jump, and it seems like the time difference is really only those 8 seconds that CheeseLover took when he was getting that health cell.
Yeah, and this early game can be very consistent, pretty much regardless of almost anything. All those variances as far as when you get health drops and whether you do a 1 HP or a 2 HP Ghost Door, they tend to kind of wash out most of the time. You usually get a pretty typical either like a 308 or like a 318 or a 319 or something, depending on whether you got the health cell or not. So both runners staying pretty consistent on their wall jump performances. Willson getting his level up on the way out, as he would typically want to do since he's doing Genocide. Cheese took his on the way in, and is going to be satisfied with that as well. As long as he doesn't have any accidental bumps into this bramble wall this time, he'll be a little bit happier with his black root approach. And Willson, for his part, not having any kind of mishaps either.
Yeah, it's been smooth sailing so far, which is really good to see from both runners. Again, just heading down into Blackroot, where, as you mentioned, Willson going to be doing Slime Genocide, and she's going to be doing a reload strat.
I think Willson ended up with a slightly low XP count earlier on. I'm not sure how that's going to work out right here. It looks like he's... Yeah, he came out all right. He came out still around, that looks to be like 11 or so. So that's totally fine. Usually your goal is about 15, so 11 is just bonus. Cheese, for his part, looks to be about like 40-something, so he will not need to dodge that top right slime that you mentioned last time. It'll just make his life a little bit easier later on in Blackroot Burrows. Oh, Willson missed the slime XP. That is going to necessitate killing another slime later on.
Yeah. Ooh. Okay, well, Cheese has recovered pretty well. That's not the most time loss, as unfortunate as it is in the scheme of things, given he didn't die, and even if he did, it's so early in Blackroot that the amount of time loss is largely irrelevant. Putting down that safety save just earlier to guarantee that he's not losing that much time save, as Willson looks like he's going to be able to catch this cycle pretty easily.
Yeah, with plenty of time to spare. Oh, good lord, Cheese. Taking a death already, unfortunately, here, as he missed a lantern. I did not exactly see how that happened, but as a result, the center platform where he tried to light the next lantern had not raised, and so he took 2 bits of spike damage, and that was enough. He hasn't saved since that earlier safety save, as he wanted to save his next save. Boy, I'm words. For a little bit later on in order to do his reload here, and he needs both of the energy. So here's the reload. Meanwhile, Willson is already deep into the dash room, and okay, well...
Huh? Did he just walk off it?
Yeah, it looked like he just kind of lost control of Warrior. And he's gonna miss another cycle too. Actually, the same thing that happened to CheeseLover. Okay, I don't. What happened there?
Thanks for that replay, because it showed us what was happening, but amazingly, it managed to not grant us any real insight into why or how that happened. That's okay, it's fine.
Oh my gosh, and Cheese misses a cycle here as well.
This is not the clean start that I had hoped for. However, it is currently close-ish. So, currently, Cheese makes the jump, makes it up, pulls the lever. It's all good. It's going to be a lot closer this time, please. As Willson getting to the dash tree, as CheeseLover is just going to perform this cutscene skip. Neither of them going for the cutscene stack, interesting to note.
Yeah, for Genocide, it doesn't make too much sense to try for it, because you can't really save much time on it since you need to kill extra slimes anyway. For Cheese, actually, that looks like he got the fake skip. I don't think he went for it. I think he just got the fake version of the full skip. So, unfortunately, he doesn't even look like he's practiced the stack or want to try it. So he is going to do the normal thing, which is just basically losing him as much time as possible here. So it's actually still like a 40-second deficit as Wilson's going to Froggy Walk.
I mean, at least this one feels less bad than missing the jump and falling and then having the orb drop in probably the worst way possible. Cheese has had a really clean exit though from BRB as Willson, going through Death Gauntlet, doesn't get smacked by the Frankie as he has again decided not to go for Death Glide.
Yeah, both runners are watching each other. You did mention this last race from Wilson's perspective around this point. Willson is watching Cheese, and Cheese is also checking out Wilson's stream when he has the opportunity to find out how he's doing. So they both know what the state of the race is, and so Willson might be opting out of Death Glide based on the fact that he sees Cheese is that far behind and has been both races. Willson does miss the Grotto cycle this time, so that gives Cheese that 8-second window of opportunity to save some time, but of course, there's lots of other stuff along the way that could either, it can kill either runner and cause some problems. Death Glide for Cheese, I would say no problem, but he did take a damage there. He'll just want to be a little bit careful here and not take a death from these things, which he does not, and he does get his safety save down, so he will be able to attempt his Grotto cycle now in just a moment.
Cheese, although there is this 8 seconds as he may attempt this Gauss cycle, he did mention that he wasn't expecting to get it as he just barely doesn't get it. Thankfully for Ori, not getting decapitated between the wall and the moving pillar.
Yeah, that was a little terrifying actually. His lineup was practically good enough to squeeze exactly into the one spot where you get what we call one framed, which is just that you take a death on the one frame where you're not outside the crushers and not inside the crushers. You're at the perfect corner to get killed, and so he avoided that, which is good, but he missed the cycle, which is bad. Willson having a little bit of a hiccup on Grotto skip, but he is able to get it pretty quickly. Throws in a baguette jump for the fans, and he's going to be heading up the rockfall a little bit slower than his run last time, thanks to the shenanigans in Blackroot Burrows. So Cheese definitely has more of an opportunity here to strike.
Yeah, definitely. Cheese actually is fun, making it pretty high up on that wall. Unfortunately, slides down into the perfect gap that exists for some unknown reason, where you're on like an inside wall and you're sort of trapped by the spikes. We're going to see him go for Grotto skip. He could probably make up a couple of seconds here, maybe, as he gets it second try. So that's one attempt less than Willson, and it looked pretty clean regardless.
Willson on his way up Moon Grotto, heading on out to reach the entrance of the Ginso tree, and of course getting greeted by our friend Gandalf the Slime, who says you shall not pass. Actually very easy to damage yourself many times on that slime if you don't realize that dash resets your invulnerability frames, which is a thing that of course both of these runners are quite aware of, but definitely tends to catch newer players by surprise. And Willson now already, in just the time it took me to say those words, already up at the spinners outside the Swamp Teleporter, takes 2 damage from one of them, so he's not going to get the optimal cycle here, and he's on 1 HP. Gotta be a little careful. Little careful, Willson. Willson!
He's making his way up. I found that slime is probably the least sniperish slime in the game. It's pretty easy to sit in a pretty safe spot. Looking over at CheeseLover, he had a decent climb up the notoriously impossible Grotto walls, heading up to grab this ability cell as he is not going to crazy juggle because he is not, as the name suggests, crazy, as he goes to activate this Swamp Teleporter, and Willson is heading up to do his telehops.
Very good execution once again. So he's getting a very good cycle here, basically identical to the normal strat that or the fastest normal strat you can do. And doing that bottom route there, taking a quick deboost to get through that section slightly quicker. And he'll be performing his little cycle manipulation here in the puzzle room as well, by taking a quick death right there to reset this flower spitter thing and get the shot to go a little bit sooner. As Cheese is now entering Ginso Tree, we were told he got damage down to 1 HP as well. Shoutouts to our truck helping us out with those details. And so that means right now he's going to be on 2 HP, which is not the worst, but not the best either.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of health you have in the gamer room almost doesn't matter, because if you take damage here, you're falling. You're almost guaranteed to fall the whole way down and into an inescapable pit of sadness as you get sent back to the start of the Ginso tree. But thankfully that doesn't happen to Cheese. Willson had a very clean mini-boss fight, as we get to see Cheese with the thrilling redirection puzzle.
I'm thrilled. The thrillest, really.
Yeah, it's incredible. I can't... at the moment I'm not even interested in what Wilson's doing. I just can't draw my eyes away from CheeseLover's side of the screen. Now that he's completed the puzzle, I can look over and see Willson. He's got to the bash tree. He's going to be heading up and doing his key dupe very shortly. Cheese with his mini-boss fight.
Oh,
Just
again.
miss again, yeah.
That's some very, very precise shooting by Cheese, and it's very impressive to see that. For him to be able to do that in both races so far, given the other things that are happening. And really his play since BRB in this race has been quite clean, so hopefully we'll see that start to pay off in the later game. And he, of course, will be, you know, kind of hoping if he wants to be able to come up with a victory here, he'll be hoping for some mistakes from Willson. Again, so far those aren't really forthcoming. We did have some problems on the way to Ginso, but otherwise he's been playing pretty cleanly and just doing what he needs to do to prevent his opponent from taking advantage of his mistakes here.
Yeah, definitely. That was a very clean key dupe from Willson, which is honestly what you'd expect from both of these runners. Cheese is going to be making his way up there shortly.
We got an update from our truck that the delta at Bash Tree was about 52 seconds, so that's okay. It's going to be a little bit more than that now, unfortunately. That is a rough death for Cheese. Certainly not the roughest, but it is not very great, as it sends you all the way back to the Bash Tree from past this redirect puzzle all the way up near where he was trying to set up his save. And that's the tragedy too, is he was literally about to save if he had just been able to jump onto that platform, but he wasn't quite able to get it. So we're going to go for the same thing again, and this time he does get safely in position to drop his save, while Willson is going into Swamp Entry on his side.
Yeah, this time not taking damage with the blind movement. Hopefully we don't see any funny business with this shot, as it behaves as a shot should and destroys the wall. Cheese coming up for the second part of his key dupe here, just going to recollect all these keys so he can head through to the second mini boss.
See more of these double bashes for Willson, and this time they do appear to go well. So he's able to get to the Stomp Tree without accidentally plummeting halfway to his death as he did last time, but not all the way. And he is coming in with a sub 17 Stomp. Very good time to be able to have. It's a good kind of benchmark for him to use to tell, like, okay, I'm clicking, I'm playing pretty well. I'm not hemorrhaging time the way that I could be. It's certainly not like close to his PB thanks to the shenanigans in Blackroot Burrows, but he'll just be looking at that to say that's telling him that he's on 29 pace pretty easily, and he's certainly keeping up the pressure on Cheese here.
Yeah, that slight death not going to cost too much time in the scheme of things. Cheese also going for the laser rekindle skip, and it looks like he's going to be doing some blind movement as well. His was actually pretty clean in the last race, and it was equally clean this time, although there were some questionable dashes just then on that frog, but it seems to have gone fine.
Clean Kuro Cutscene skip on Wilson's side as well. little bit of a flub on the first attempt of the shot from CheeseLover, but his second one is good, and the double bashes both work, and the shot does go through. Willson attempting to do the same spider sack cutscene skip here, and he immediately bashes himself directly into the instant kill spikes, which you alluded to last time. Almost almost gets the skip, and then manages to jump just a little bit off the ground before the cutscene trigger freezes him, so he's standing in midair there while that cutscene played. So not getting to show off the cutscene in either of these games so far. Maybe he'll be hoping that Cheese catches and passes him so that he gets a game 3 to try to show it off. Kappa.
Yes, I definitely think that he will be hoping that Cheese wins this game, definitely. Willson, carrying this save anywhere, going to skip a decently long cutscene, actually most of which is fine talking to you, and not the actual cutscene. Cheese, back with his favourite frog, Ringo, gets it first try this time. No unfortunate frog killing this time, as he is also making his, or as he is now rather making his way over to a thing that he says that he never misses.
And he does not lie.
He does not lie.
We got Valley for Willson, we've got the spider pegs for Cheese, and you will not see Cheese attempting any silly cutscene skips involving a lot of double bashes. You will see Willson take a very substantial death all the way back to the Spirit Tree, as really any death on this segment will result in that. Those spikes are 3 damage, so yeah, just take a little bit of a nip in there, and there you go. You saw the mouse swirls on that replay as well, as he was not very pleased with that, but he is still substantially ahead with Cheese, but that does narrow that gap very significantly, and pretty soon Cheese will be coming to that Spirit Tree, and another death by Willson would send him right back to be even.
Yeah, at this stage they're only a death apart, really, and depending on how far Willson is able to get, that's obviously going to change, but it looks like Cheese is getting that cutscene skip very easily. Willson heading up for fast Stompless, angles the shot. That looks pretty good to me. What do you reckon, Will?
Yeah, it looks good to me too, and the way that I know that that's the case is that it looked good to Willson, so he continued his movement toward the cell, and he did collect it this time, so that's a good load off his mind as far as, you know, compared to last race where he had to go get a backup cell. So he'll be able to learn Charge Dash here and continue about his way, perform his rocket jumps and so on. Cheese is now coming on through Valley, and this, he's back at 1 health, and this is a scary section with full health, let alone 1, plus the problems Cheese had the last time through here. I wonder if you'll see him drop a safety save, potentially. I haven't seen one yet.
Yeah, he might drop a safety save and then decide that he wants to stop at the teleporter to refresh his energy and health, but it looks like he's just going to soldier on through, line up the bash angle. I'm not sold, but Cheese thinks it's good, so fingers crossed, and that's why I don't have a 3008.
Look at the left side, we've got Willson doing crazy juggle, and his angles look, they're shifting a lot, but he is able to get these, most of those were 3-frame charge dashes, which is impressive as heck, and he is able to get up very quickly to the top of Sorrow, and he'll collect his Sunstone. His Sorrow Bash was first try, his Crazy Juggle was very clean. Even if he's had a few hiccups on other things in this race, OG, he's really showing that this late game is not where he's going to be making the big mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. Cheese going to be collecting this energy here. He didn't go up to the teleporter, so he's only on 3 health, which I guess doesn't really matter because any of these spikes will kill him as he's only got 4 max health. Anyway, he'll be going up and just baiting the frog shot instead of doing crazy juggle because he's not crazy. And then on, I don't know. I don't know if Cheese is a juggler. We should ask him after the hopefully for his sake after the next race, but you'll see that he's carrying this save anywhere to Terra Break instead of doing that siege.
Yeah, it's you can tell how much closer this race is, because even though this high five by the two runners going in and out of the charge jump tree is misleading, as Willson gets the beautiful weave on the way down past that platform. It is a misleading high five because the runners aren't actually as close together as it appeared, but the fact that they're even close enough for that high five does indicate that Cheese is much, much closer, and things can happen in Misty, so there's going to be some amount of, hoping for that basically on Cheese's part, but, the reality is things can just occur. Wilson's on 2 HP right now. Some of these frogs along the way could just bop him once, and that would, holy crap.
Things were happening in Wilson's Misty, even as you were saying that some things can happen. So this race just got substantially closer. Obviously, Cheese has to wait to actually collect the Sunstone, but really, we're back to being within a death, and really, that's probably not going to change for most of this run. I don't think that there are too many places other than if you die, like right after climb, where a death isn't going to shore up most of this gap.
Yeah, that's pretty much true. Oh my goodness, Willson taking damage on the same frog, but this time around, he threw down a safety save. He intentionally did a stair cancel earlier on instead of spending an energy on a charge dash to be able to save that energy back. So he is at the Atsu's Torch cutscene now and has locked in his progress through Misty to that point of that safety save. So think about it that way as we're going through. Anytime Willson throws down a safety save, he locks in that progress and he says, even if I die, I'm going only this far back. And that not only helps obviously reduce time loss if you take a bad death, but also just increases your confidence. Again, Willson should expect that his play the rest of the way here is going to be slightly faster than Cheese's because of that, that PB advantage that he has grinded out faster times on these segments. Oh boy, but things like that are gonna give Cheese some of the room he might need to catch up here.
Yeah, Cheese also throwing down a safety save in pretty much the same spot as Willson did. It didn't die that time. It's the exact same thing that happened last race. He managed to recover it this time as Cheese also had some issues coming straight out of climb, but luckily no deaths in Misty, or in the second half of Misty for either runner.
Willson throwing down a safety save and also putting himself down at 2 energy, so it's going to limit the number of charge dashes and the strats he can use at the end here. He saves 1 to do this rocket jump, which is a good strat, and then he's going to use a charge dash on this Frunky instead of rocket jumping off of him. So he's got 1 left to make use for the bang zoom quick kill on this mini boss, which he pulls off quickly and cleanly. Cheese now is very close behind him, just heading to the mini boss himself. Probably looks pretty good on his energy count. Yeah, he's able to do both rocket jumps. Another high five for the runners, although this one's kind of a little bit figurative. Another bit of a mess for Cheese on the mini boss, but he's able to get it down.
Yeah. That was not as clean as Wilson's, but much cleaner than his Bang Zoom last race. Willson, 2 energy and 3 health, teleporting over to Glades, and Cheese just exiting out of Misty now, pretty much right on his tail. This may come down again to door warps.
It could also come down to some little things, OG, like the fact that Willson just got caught by the slow zone coming into Blackroot Burrows, and that just cost him a few extra seconds there. Things like that, he can't really afford those mistakes right now. He can't afford to die to either of these lasers here on the way down, so he's going to dash past that one, take a quick jump, dash on through the Yoka laser. He's even taking that one slightly safer than he might normally. Oh, he misses the double bash, but he... Oh, goodness! Okay. Got the cutscene skip, and he is on his way through at the teleporter. and he's going to lose another few seconds here, but at the teleporter, it was a 20-second delta between the two of them. With a little bit of the things that just happened there, Willson might have lost a little more of that as well.
Yeah, Cheese took a little bit of damage from some of those falling slimes, manages to get through safely. He's now just stomping down. Oh, that's a real unfortunate charge dash from Willson. Hit targeting the sit-shoot shark rather than the bird. Thankfully, though, it still gets a good laser cycle, so he's able to not get instantly killed as he actually collects that backup energy there.
Yeah, so Willson is looking to do Warmth Skip, and he is going to need a substantial amount of energy. He is going to need to save some of it until the end, because when you do Warmth Skip, you do not get a refill. So as he teleports back to Swamp, he made sure to pick up that extra there, and he might even try to get some from that Swarm, and didn't get any, but these two from this crystal here should be enough to get him through. But Cheese, for his part, does not necessarily need to worry about that. He will not be doing Warmth Skip. He can burn every last bit of his energy, and that might make his trip through here a little bit easier. He does lose some time just missing that mushroom platform. Willson down to 3 energy, a grenade jump for him here, and he manages to pull it off. So 3 is the number he'll take into the final escape here and his door warp attempts.
Yeah, Cheese looks like he will have 5 health as well, opting out of that Mount Hori health, which is probably a smart idea given the state of this race, as one is reloading as the other exits, as Willson gets it first try.
That is going to provide a big confidence boost as he's not doing Warp Skip. That is very interesting. Cheese will now be attempting Door Warp. It is possible that Willson just feels that there's enough room. CheeseLover pulling off first try Door Warp as well. And now he is going to apply a tremendous amount of pressure to Willson, who cannot afford any flubs in the swim. That!
He's still slightly ahead. He managed to die just early enough. Ooh, jeez. That Cheese hadn't finished watching the sort of the starting cutscene, as both of them now making their way at a frantic pace through this final escape. Cheese just hoping for anything from Willson, just another minor error, a second try grenade jump, anything to give him just that little bit of a hope, as Willson now with 4 energy is going to be lining up for this grenade jump.
And he pulls it off first try cleanly in order to get through and take the victory there. My goodness, what a finish for Willson.
And first try as well. That
incredible.
A great end to a race. GG to both runners.
That was incredibly close, and great call by Willson. Making the decision at the last instant, I am not going to go for Warmth Skip. It's too risky, and I have a lead, and if I just don't make any mistakes, I'm through. And that is exactly what he did do. And as a result, he will take this race and the match, winning with a 31-39 to CheeseLover's 31-49. My goodness, a deficit of only 10 seconds.
Yeah, that was incredible. Really close, right at the end. That it was just 1 or 2 very costly deaths from Willson that let Cheese sort of have a sniff, that brought him within reaching distance, within touching distance of Willson, but unfortunately was just not able to fully close the gap. As you were saying, a really smart call from Willson to not go for Warmth Skip. That death may have been very costly, as the final escape does some weird things if you die with Warmth Skip. But GG, our winner in this match, Willson with the 2-0. Vula, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think the match proceeded in some very unusual directions in that second game. Certainly, you can say the result is what we expected. We did expect that Willson would be able to defeat his opponent here, the number 2 seed, having a substantial skill advantage over his opponent, and being able to take advantage of that, still coming away with the victory. But game 2, wow, that really could have been anyone's race at the very end there, and Willson showing that he had the composure to stick with it and not lose his composure, and also not lose the race. We will now be joined by both runners, so we will be able to get to hear their thoughts. And Willson and Cheese, GG to both of you. We'll start with Willson, of course. Congratulations on the win, and take us to that moment as you got to Mount Horu in the second race and you decided not to do warm skip.
Thanks, guys, and GG to Cheese. So I knew that Cheese doesn't do the worm skip. At least I didn't see him do it the last time. So I knew that I wasn't gonna lose any time by like skipping the worm skip. And the reason for that is, like, the reason I skipped it was because it's a little spooky to do. That blind movement can kill me. I'm not getting 100% consistency with it. And if you die when you perform the worm skip, the next attempt is delayed by a lot more than if you actually just watch the warmth animation there, or cutscene rather. So I decided to just play it very, very safe, all the way from climb tree, or actually grenade tree. I started doing everything very, very safely.
So, sorry, you go.
Go ahead.
You go, please.
Imagine being able to coherently interview. Yeah, I mean that approach clearly paid off for you, Willson. You know, some spaghetti happened as you were going through Misty, and you know, kind of as you were in that late stretch and you had a very substantial lead and you were watching it kind of evaporate. What was happening that kind of caused that? What were you thinking? Kind of what were you feeling during those moments, and how did you kind of back off of that situation?
Well, the Misty death, the huge one to the frog, I was just surprised. I mean, the look on my face. I usually never take damage from that frog. Like, it happens, sure, but most often it doesn't. So I didn't expect it at all. And then I died to it, and then it happened again on my second visit into Misty. I kind of tried to approach it like, this doesn't usually happen, trust my regular strats, just do it as I usually do. Like, I could spend a bash there, but it was like, it was a mental challenge sort of to be like, this should work. And then I took damage anyway, and I was like, okay, it didn't kill me this time, but damn.
So, Cheese, we saw that this second race was you performed a lot better in the second race in comparison to the first, even though you had sort of similar issues in Blackroot. Was there anything sort of mentality-wise that was different in the second race that prevented you from sort of making some of those same mistakes again, or what was different that sort of made that second race a lot cleaner?
I think I just not cared a lot less, but there was a lot less pressure considering the first race, so I just tried to do my best, I guess. It was quite annoying having all the screw-ups. Like, there were only really 3 major ones: the death, and then the skip screw-up, and then that, especially the death at Bash, that was, just after Bash, that was pretty dumb. But from there on out, I basically played on pace with PB, so I don't really think I changed anything in particular. It was just hoped for a screw up from Willson. It just needed to be about 10 more seconds to have a chance.
Jeez, we definitely. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Speaking of that screw up, we know that both of you were watching the restream. At what point did you notice in that second race that Willson had taken that unfortunate death and had gone back to the charge jump tree, and it was suddenly significantly closer?
I think, in terms of, because I'm watching the restream, that's delayed by like 30 seconds, but I think when I rocket jumped down from the bird, I quickly peeked over and I saw the background of orange and whatnot. So I figured it must have been a really bad death, and I knew I'd still be just behind, but that made me once again be like, oh, okay, it's time to try super hard now. And speaking of, if there was any chance of me winning in that final split from a Willson screw up, like grenade jump or whatever, I actually golded that, which is my first gold, I think, since I came back for 8 months or whatever. So I was definitely in the zone in that last split for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that entire second half of that run, give or take, you were playing at a really high level. So it's not surprising to me to hear that you golded a split at the end of that. That's really cool. Wilson, going back to you, game 2, of course, we've talked a fair bit about. Going back to game 1 a little bit, it was kind of, it was kind of a little bit easy maybe on your end because of the things that happen. And I guess what I wonder is when you play a race like that, and you made some mistakes in game 1 as well, but they weren't the same type of mistakes. They weren't earth-shattering ones that made it a close race or anything. But how did you view your performance in game 1, and did that affect at all your mindset going into game 2?
I'd say my performance in game 1 was not good, but not catastrophic, in the sense that I didn't make any huge major deaths or mistakes that cost me a lot of time, but there were just small things here and there, a few seconds here, 10 seconds there, all the time, that just cost some time. And then there was a big flub with the fast dumpless where I missed getting the cell, but I was kind of confident with that one. As you said, Cheese had a less good run than this second one, so I wasn't very stressed about that one. And I wouldn't say it affected my game 2. What affected my game 2 was my Blackroot Burrows performance in game 2 mostly, but no, I wasn't really affected by game 1, even though my performance today was less than I would have wanted. Then I'm still happy I won, and yeah.
Well, that's a great segue into we'll ask our last question for the night. Your next opponent is Terra. It's somebody that is actually on the same continent as you, so maybe scheduling will be a little bit easier for you.
Hopefully.
As you look forward to that, what do you think about Terra as your forthcoming opponent, and how are you going to approach that match?
Yeah, Terra is a lot of fun. Terra is very fast, but my edge is that he doesn't go for all the hardest strats always. So I'm kind of relying on my route being superior. But no, Terra's great and very spooky because he can really put up some really good times. And it's going to be a lot of fun because he's been sort of targeting me in the qualifiers, saying his mission in the qualifiers was to just beat me, and well, he didn't succeed with that, but yeah, he can have fun.
Well, I certainly look forward to that match. I do hope you both have a great time, and GG to you again, Wilson. Congratulations on the victory tonight, and she's GG again, and great job in the tournament, and it was a pleasure chatting with both of you.
You too. And
Thanks,
GG
guys.
as well.
GG.
Well, that's going to do it for us for now, but we do have more action tomorrow. OG, you want to tell the viewers all about
I would like to tell the viewers all about it. Our next match is going to be on at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Raziel versus Infinite, and it's going to be all 3 matches. It's going to be commentated by Athos and Elo, so that'll be a interesting race. And then after that, later on tonight at 7 p.m, we've got yours truly, Vuligin versus Primarix on at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Both of those matches will be on Speed Gaming 2.
That is correct. So make sure to tune in on Speed Gaming 2 for all the action. We do, of course, only have 3 matches left in the round of 16, so we're fast approaching the end of this round, and you'll get to see the round of 8. The quarterfinal is coming up next week. But that's going to do it for us for tonight. On behalf of Hydra and Skyfo in the truck for you tonight on behalf of our restreamer Shed, and of course OG1764 joining me here in the booth tonight. I've been Vulgin, and it has been a pleasure to serve you folks some delicious Ori. Let's all go to bed.
Good night, everyone.